A bad thermostat can ruin your entire driving experience and even your engine. It's a small part, usually under 40 bucks, but when it goes bad, your cooling system loses control. That's when the temperature gauge starts acting weird, the heater blows cold, or the engine overheats out of nowhere. Most drivers overlook the thermostat because it's hidden and simple, but it controls everything about how your engine warms up, cools down, and stays efficient. When it fails, performance drops, fuel economy tanks, and in the worst cases, the head gasket doesn't survive. If your car's running too hot, too cold, or the gauge keeps bouncing, don't ignore it. The thermostat might be the reason, and catching it early can mean a quick fix instead of an expensive rebuild. Let's go over how it works, what really happens when it fails, and the signs that tell you it's time to replace it. How the thermostat works. The thermostat sits between the engine block and the radiator, acting as a temperature-sensitive valve. When the engine is cold, it stays closed, allowing coolant to circulate only inside the engine so it warms up quickly. Once the coolant reaches roughly 180 to 200 Fahrenheit, the thermostat opens, allowing flow through the radiator to release heat. This constant open-close cycle keeps your engine in its sweet spot, not too hot, not too cold. But if that valve sticks closed, coolant can't escape, and temperatures climb dangerously fast. If it sticks open, coolant circulates constantly, keeping the engine too cold and never allowing it to reach efficient operating temperature. Either way, the result is the same. Unstable thermal control, poor performance, and a warning light waiting to happen. Symptom 1, engine overheating, thermostat stuck closed. If your engine temperature spikes rapidly or creeps into the red zone after just a few minutes, you're likely dealing with a thermostat stuck closed. When that happens, hot coolant gets trapped inside the block with nowhere to go. You'll often see steam coming from under the hood, hear bubbling from the reservoir, or smell a sweet, syrup-like odor from overheated coolant. If ignored, the rising pressure can blow hoses, warp the cylinder head, or destroy the head gasket. Rule 1. If your gauge hits the red or you see steam, pull over immediately and shut it down. Continuing to drive even a short distance under those conditions can mean complete engine failure. Symptom 2, engine running. Too cold, thermostat stuck open. When the thermostat is stuck open, the opposite happens. Coolant flows freely through the radiator from the moment you start the car, preventing the engine from reaching its normal temperature. At first, it may seem harmless, but a cold-running engine never reaches full efficiency. The fuel mixture stays rich, the oil takes longer to reach proper viscosity, and combustion remains incomplete. Over time, this means higher fuel consumption, increased emissions, rough idle, and carbon buildup inside the cylinders. You'll usually notice it in colder weather. The cabin heater takes forever to warm up. The temperature gauge barely moves off the low mark, and fuel mileage drops for no apparent reason. Symptom 3, fluctuating temperature gauge. A thermostat that's failing intermittently will cause the temperature gauge to behave erratically, climbing up, dropping down, then spiking again for no reason. This usually happens when the internal spring or wax pellet is sticking and releasing at random. The engine computer reads those sudden changes and tries to compensate by adjusting the air-fuel ratio and timing, which can cause rough running or pinging. If your gauge seems to have a mind of its own, the thermostat may be cycling inconsistently and should be tested or replaced before it fails completely. Symptom 4, weak or inconsistent cabin heat. Poor heat output is one of the most common real-world signs of a thermostat stuck open. When the engine stays too cool, the coolant never gets hot enough to deliver warmth through the heater core. You'll feel it in the cabin. Air that's warm for a minute, then turns lukewarm or cold. The gauge might stay low or fluctuate. This can also happen with low coolant or a clogged heater core, but if the system is full and the heater still struggles, the thermostat is likely stuck open. Symptom 5, coolant leaks around the thermostat housing. A thermostat that sticks closed creates pressure buildup inside the cooling system. That pressure often finds the weakest point, usually around the thermostat housing, hoses, or radiator seams. Check for signs of coolant residue or crusted leaks near the housing or along the upper radiator hose. If you're topping up coolant frequently with no visible puddle, the pressure may be forcing coolant out during high heat cycles. A stuck closed thermostat can cause that. Symptom 6, check engine light or trouble codes. Modern vehicles monitor coolant temperature closely. If the engine takes too long to warm up or never reaches the proper temperature, the ECM may trigger a check engine light. Codes like P0128, coolant thermostat below regulating temperature, or P0117/P0118, coolant temperature sensor errors often point to a thermostat that's stuck open or slow to respond. While these codes can also indicate sensor problems, they're a strong early clue that thermal regulation isn't functioning correctly. What causes a thermostat to fail? Thermostats fail primarily from age, corrosion, or contamination. The internal wax pellet that controls the valve can break down over time. Springs can lose tension. Rust or old coolant can seize moving parts. Using the wrong coolant type or skipping flush intervals accelerates the problem. Dirty coolant leaves scale that prevents smooth valve operation. In neglected systems, a failing water pump or stuck radiator cap can also affect pressure, stressing the thermostat further. Most thermostats last 7 to 10 years, but in high heat regions or with poor maintenance, failure can come sooner. Fixing or replacing a bad thermostat. Replacing a thermostat is one of the most straightforward cooling system repairs, but it still requires attention to detail. Allow the engine to cool completely. Drain enough coolant to drop the level below the thermostat housing. Remove the housing bolts, lift off the cover, and note the thermostat's orientation before removal. Clean both mating surfaces thoroughly. Even a small piece of old gasket can cause leaks later. Install a new thermostat rated for your vehicle's specific temperature range, along with a fresh gasket or O-ring. Refill the system with the correct type and mix of coolant, then bleed out any trapped air to prevent air pockets. After installation, start the engine and monitor the temperature gauge. You should see the needle rise steadily, then stabilize once the thermostat opens. If it continues to fluctuate or the engine runs cold, recheck for trapped air or a misaligned thermostat. The entire job typically costs $120 to $250 in a shop, or around $30 to $60 in parts if you do it yourself. A small investment compared to the cost of overheating repairs. Preventing thermostat and cooling system problems. The best way to prevent thermostat failure is to maintain your coolant system regularly. Flush and replace coolant every 2 to 4 years, use only manufacturer-approved antifreeze, and check levels monthly. Inspect hoses, clamps, and the radiator cap for wear. A weak cap or collapsing hose can change system pressure and cause erratic temperature readings even when the thermostat is fine. If you live in an area with extreme temperature swings, consider replacing the thermostat preemptively every 8,000 to 100,000 miles. It's cheap insurance against major engine damage. The thermostat may cost less than a tank of gas, but when it fails, it can destroy an engine worth thousands. Whether it's stuck open and wasting fuel or stuck closed and cooking your head gasket, the signs are clear: temperature instability, poor heat, fluctuating gauges, or coolant loss. Pay attention to those early symptoms, maintain your coolant system, and replace weak components before they fail. Because in a modern engine, temperature control isn't optional, it's survival.